The folks who raise pumpkins in Allen County enjoy a successful season. And as you're about to see, the large orange fruit can be used in many ways. Kelly Burgess serves as the Family and Consumer Sciences Extension Agent in Allen County. We sat down with her recently to talk about the different types of pumpkins farmers grow in Allen County and the several benefits the orange fruit produces for you and me.
I do know that the few producers that we have close contact with at the Extension Service, most of them have sold out already this year. So whether it is the jack-o'-lantern varieties or the Kentucky field pumpkins, most patches are done for the year. But I do think they had good yields as far as I know. They're actually somewhat of a rare variety. Not a lot of people raise the Kentucky field pumpkins. They are an heirloom variety of pumpkin, so the seeds are older, just your traditional, when you think about old-time fall, those are the types of pumpkins. I would say the most common that most people see are probably the jack-o'-lanterns, or that's when you think of a Halloween pumpkin. That's what most people think of. But the Kentucky field pumpkins are really unique because not only can you carve them, you can also decorate with them. They have that lighter pastel tone that a lot of people enjoy for decorations or think is popular. But also you can cook with them. So that's what makes them unique from the jack-o'-lanterns. Those bigger field pumpkins like jack-o'-lanterns, you don't want to cook with those because the skin is really fibery and stringy and tough, or the flesh I should say. But for the field pumpkins, they actually are classified as a pie pumpkin, which most of the time we think of the pie pumpkins as those little small, ones that you can kind of hold in the cup of your hands. But these ones are actually 8 to 14 pounds, but they are as soft and as delicate as those pie pumpkins, and they are good for eating.
And while a lot of you buy pumpkins for decoration only in October, you can also eat pumpkins, but you need to know how to properly prepare them.
You can steam it, you can boil it. I like to roast it or cook it in the oven, bake it. So what I did is I heated my oven to 375, and I actually used a cookie sheet that has a little bit of a lip. If you have a big enough baking dish, like a glass baking dish, that works too. But you'll want to fill it up with a little bit of water, and then you'll actually turn the pumpkin open side down on the baking sheet. These ones took about an hour. That's kind of the reference point. And then you'll check for doneness by using a fork. And if it will softly go through that flesh, then you know that it's completed. I flipped it over then and let it cool face up. But you want to be careful about burning your hands at that point. So when it is fresh scooped out of the pumpkin, it will look like this, which I thought, well, that kind of looks mostly pureed already. But it's actually still, you can see some of those fibers, some of those strings. So if you're wanting to use it for something like a pie or even a dehydrated vegetable leather, if you want to do that with it, you'll want to puree it first. So anyways, if you puree it in a food processor or a blender, it'll come out looking more like your traditional canned pumpkin that you would find at the store. So this is the fun part that maybe kids would like, to peel the strings away from the seeds. But the seeds are a great snack. You can dehydrate them. You can also roast them in the oven. So dehydrating and roasting are a little bit different. But if you want to dry them, you can use the dehydrator and then roast it with a little bit of olive oil, maybe a little sea salt or your favorite seasonings in the oven. And then I love to either eat them just plain like that, or you can mix it into like a trail mix, kind of like a snack mix, salty snack situation. But definitely too good to throw away, even though it does take a little bit of time and effort to separate those strings and seeds. Look how many seeds came out of this one pumpkin. So the producer who provided these Kentucky field pumpkins recommended a family favorite recipe for how to prepare them, and we might get a sneak preview into that. But what you do is, he actually recommended cooking it raw, so chunking up the pumpkin and putting it into a skillet with either sorghum or molasses and a little butter, and just kind of heating it until the pumpkin is soft that way. The catch on that is you do have to eventually peel the skin away because you don't want to eat the skin. But as it heats up, If the chunks are large enough, you should just be able to pull the skin away that way. But to me, it sounds like kind of a twist on a sweet potato casserole maybe, but definitely a tasty fall side dish for sure. Pumpkins are rich in fiber, so of course we've talked about the fibers in them, but truly from a nutrition standpoint, they are a great source of fiber, but also vitamin A and beta carotene. So just like all of our other orange vegetables, like carrots or sweet potatoes, they have a lot of that vitamin A that can help our eye health and just other things in our bodies. I will say that vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin, so you have to have some fat along with it in order for your body to absorb it. So a little butter in the skillet might not be a bad thing. And something else that was fascinating was about preserving. So it's actually not recommended to can in a pressure canner pureed pumpkin. If you do want to can it at home, it's recommended to do the chunks. But really the best way is, and that's due to the viscosity, so the thickness, that's why it's not recommended to can. But for freezing, you can chunk it and freeze it that way, or you can freeze the puree as well. You just want to leave enough headspace at the top of your bag or container. But I do think that this variety of pumpkins is especially interesting because it's a large size but still tender enough to cook. And just the kind of the nostalgia and historic side of it, it's different than, I had never heard of them until recently, but apparently they're ones that, you know, your grandparents and great-grandparents probably decorated with, cooked with, and were more common to them than they are to us. But they're also, I learned that they're easy to grow, easy to produce, and fairly affordable as well. And then for all the benefits that you can get from them, I do feel like it's a sweet deal.
If you have any questions or need a recipe suggestion, you can contact Kelly at the University of Kentucky Extension Office in Scottsville at 270-237-3146. Reporting from Allen County, Barry Hyatt, NCTV.